With the recent release of Avengers Endgame, I have been on a Marvel binge lately. I've been reading all these articles about the movie and the characters in general, and all of that has me really excited for a little game coming to Nintendo Switch sometime soon called Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. The game is scheduled to be released on July 19th, so not terribly far away, and I've been thinking more and more about the game. Now, it does have its own unique story. Yes, the Infinity Stones and Thanos are in here, but it's an original story. It's going to be separate from the original two games, and to me, that's honestly kind of a good thing, just because we get something fresh and new that we haven't really seen in video games. And speaking of things we haven't seen in video games, and more specifically, Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, there are a bunch of characters that I haven't seen in these trailers and really still hope that are in here, and that is what we are going to talk about today. Today, I am picking 5 or so characters that I want to see in Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 as playable characters that we haven't seen yet. Now, I'm only going to talk playable characters, so we're talking mainly good guys here, but if you want a list of villains that I would like that we maybe haven't seen before, make sure to let me know in the comments below. Hit the thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, and don't forget to subscribe. One last thing I want to say is, I know some of these characters have been in past Marvel Ultimate Alliance games. I'll mention that when I mention the characters. I am fully aware of that. But with all that out of the way, let's talk about some of my favorite heroes and characters that we haven't seen yet that I really hope are in the game. Wolverine being prominently shown in the trailers let us know right off the bat that the X-Men were going to be in the game. We also have Storm in the trailer, we have Nightcrawler in the box art. Cool, X-Men are in the game, but there's one X-Men that we have yet to see, and he kind of always ends up getting the short end of the sticks, at least in the movies. They haven't really done a good job with him, in my opinion, and that is Cyclops. He was in the original games, and for some reason, he isn't being shown on here. I don't understand why. He's like the leader of the X-Men for the most part. I know that leadership changes in the comics and things like that. That's perfectly fine. It helps that Cyclops was in the original games, and yes, in Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2, he was like a system exclusive. He was like DLC. Fine. He wasn't like one of the super common playable characters, but he was in the game, and I don't know why he isn't in this one. Again, the leader of the X-Men, we have to imagine that the chances of him being in this one are pretty high, just because, again, Wolverine, Storm, Nightcrawler, it does seem like the X-Men are going to play some major part in the story. Maybe we'll have some boss battles with some of the enemies. Maybe we'll even see Magneto. We see the Sentinels in the trailer, so we know that they are going to be important. And if for some reason Cyclops isn't in the game, man, that is going to be the biggest shaft of them all. Again, this character seems to constantly get shafted, in my opinion. He's one of my favorite characters, and I want to see him in this game. Now, this doesn't count as a character, so this isn't one of the 5, but, you know, since I mentioned Cyclops, why not Jean Grey? Again, I'm hoping that so many of these X-Men that are way more popular are in the game, and just a bunch of other X-Men. Put them all in there if you can. I want to have the biggest playable character roster ever with this game. Next up, we have a pair of characters that has become really, really important to the MCU, but at the time of Ultimate Alliance 2 and the original, they just weren't as important to the overall Marvel universe as they are now, so they just weren't in the games at all, and that is Ant-Man and the Wasp. Again, we know how instrumental they have become with Avengers in both Infinity War and Endgame. They have their own movie. They are really, really popular. Assuming that Ant-Man is going to get a sequel at some point, it would be a huge disservice to not put them in this game, because so many of the character designs are very, very centered around what the MCU is doing, and when you have characters this popular, especially with Paul Rudd, and you know, Ant-Man is way, way cooler than Ant-Man has ever been, in my opinion. I really think that it's important that they be in here, and maybe they will be. Maybe they are saving them for a cool little surprise a little bit later on. I think I would be surprised, just like Cyclops. I'd be surprised if they weren't in the game. I would say that at the very least, Ant-Man is going to make it. I'm crossing my fingers for both Ant-Man and the Wasp. I'm assuming they would make the Scott Lang version instead of the Hank Pym, because again, they are sort of following the template that the MCU laid out. That is what they're going for with so many of these characters. I really hope it happens. And now that I think about it, maybe this would be a pair of awesome DLC characters. Now, I'm not saying that there is going to be DLC, but if we assume there will be, maybe this could be a fun pair to throw in there with a couple of new missions or something like that. I mean, of course I would want them in the main game, but if for some reason they aren't in it, why not make them a cool DLC addition? We got a super quick peek at Venom during the last full trailer for Ultimate Alliance 3, the same one that showed Captain Marvel, and that got me to thinking, okay, if Venom is in the game, and we don't know that he's going to be like playable, or maybe he's like a villain that we're going to fight against, I don't know how any of that's going to function, but if Venom is in it, why can't Carnage be in the game? They are setting up Carnage to be the villain of the Venom sequel movie, and while that really has very little to do with Marvel, those are Sony movies, he is another really cool character that I would love to see in these games. Carnage was in the past games already. Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2 did have him as a character already, so why not bring him on over? Again, the more the merrier with all these characters, and very quickly this character roster can balloon and be bigger than it has ever been, just because the Guardians of the Galaxy weren't prominently featured in the last one, and that is just new characters that are already just gonna be mainstays for Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. But regardless, Carnage, Cletus Cassidy is a fantastic villain. A boss battle against him would be really cool. Maybe even a Venom and Carnage team up mission, something like that, I feel like could be a really fun time. We know that Deadpool is in Ultimate Alliance 3 because of the box art and some other art that we have seen, but what about his X-Force friend Cable? Deadpool 2, such a funny movie, prominently featured Cable, and it would be a real shame if he wasn't in this one. He was one of the bosses in Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2. He was also playable at some point, so that would be a really fun addition, because going around and having a team up of the X-Force where you're maybe Deadpool, Cable, and I don't know, think of a couple others, that could be really fun as well. I'm hoping that this game goes into like every corner of the universe for Marvel, right? We already see that there is some like space portions. I don't know if you're like playing in spaceships or anything like that, but we know that it is a galactic story. Thanos and the Black Order are in it, for crying out loud, so there is going to be some galactic elements to it. All that to say that Cable, while he isn't galactic, he is a part of the universe that's a little bit weird because of, you know, time travel and all of that. So he would be a really fun character to play with alongside Deadpool, and since Deadpool is in the game and Cable was in Ultimate Alliance 2, I don't know, that leads me to hope that he is really in this one. He is one of the cooler looking characters in my opinion, at least, and I really hope that he makes it in, because who doesn't want more Cable? I know I do. Last but most certainly not least, we have the Fantastic Four. As you can see, they were part of Marvel Ultimate Alliance before, and now that Marvel owns them once again just because of the Fox purchase, maybe they could show them a little bit of love once again and bring back the Invisible Woman, Mr. Fantastic, Thing, and the Human Torch all back into the fold. We haven't seen any gameplay or anything. Look, out of all the 5 that I'm mentioning, I think these are the ones that are least likely to appear, just because they haven't had a lot of love lately in anything other than comics. I think they recently came back in the comics within the last year or so or something like that, but yeah, no Fantastic Four love as of late anywhere else, and they were not a part of the MCU because they couldn't be. Now they have them back, and that just happened, so I don't know if maybe they could be introduced as DLC, or maybe they are in the game. I could be super surprised, and then, you know, they are in the game. That would be really cool, and I hope they are, because they have such a cool combination of powers, you know, going invisible plus stretching, and then the Thing being basically a miniature version of Hulk, even though he's not that much smaller. Like, it's all like super cool. And the Human Torch, man, just one of the cooler looking heroes, period. Who wouldn't want to just fly around as this giant, like, cool looking fire dude? So I hope they're in the game at some point. These are also another, you know, group of characters that I feel would be like really awesome DLC. You know how I mentioned AntMan and the Wasp getting, you know, the characters plus a couple of missions. some Fantastic Four missions would be really great DLC as well. But I just really hope that they are in it somehow. And that is pretty much it, guys. Those are 5 characters, right? A little bit more than 5, just because the Fantastic Four is 4 characters and Ant-Man and the Wasp is 2. Regardless, those are the characters I want that we haven't seen. I have a feeling that some of them will make it. The ones that I really don't think will are the Fantastic Four, although I will be very happy to be wrong on this. Let me know in the comments below what characters you want that haven't been confirmed for Ultimate Alliance 3. And that is pretty much it. We are getting closer to release. Subscribe if you're not subscribed for more Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 and a bunch of other Nintendo content. Follow us on Twitter. Link is in the description. You guys are fantastic. We appreciate each and every single one of you, and we will catch you on the next one. SwitchForce out.